the European Union, human rights and fundamental freedoms are non-negotiable. We always raise our concern, so was it today too, and insist on having our view.
China, in an attempt to save ties with Europe, has decided to play a huge card diplomatically. Will this step towards friendship be welcomed by the EU? Let's dive in. Beijing is negotiating to lift sanctions on 5 EU lawmakers, signaling a shift in EU-China relations. These sanctions were a response to the EU's 2021 sanctions over human rights violations in Xinjiang, and their removal could pave the way for the revival of the Comprehensive Agreement on Investment, CAI, suspended following retaliatory actions. But what prompted these sanctions in the first place?
How are human rights in China? The most qualified to speak on this are the Chinese people, not the European Parliament. Currently, Xinjiang enjoys social stability, economic development, and a good life for its people, marking the best period in its history. China's policies in governing Xinjiang have won widespread support, and this is an undeniable fact.
The 2021 sanctions of the Chinese officials happened after reports of systematic human rights abuses in Xinjiang against Uyghur Muslims. In retaliation, China targeted 5 MEPs, which led to the suspension of the CAI deal. These sanctions became a major point of tension in EU-China relations. Who were the individuals at the center of this diplomatic clash? The 5 MEPs targeted by China were Michael Galler, Raphael Glucksmann, Ilhan Kyuchuk, Miriam Lexman, and Reinhard Bütikofer. Their sanctions restricted travel and financial activities, hindering diplomatic engagement. What was the trade deal that became collateral damage in this standoff? The CAI was a proposed EU-China trade deal aimed at improving market access for European businesses. The agreement sought to address issues like forced technology transfers and industrial subsidies. However, critics argued it lacked strong labor rights protections, especially given Xinjiang's forced labor allegations. So, why did this ambitious agreement come to a halt? The CAI was suspended in response to the sanctions. The EU Parliament's overwhelming vote to freeze the deal reflected strong opposition to proceeding without meaningful commitments from China on labor rights and human rights protection. Is there a possibility for the CAI to make a comeback? Reviving the CAI depends on China addressing the EU's human rights concerns. While the deal could benefit European businesses by opening access to China's market, ethical issues may remain a significant barrier. Meanwhile, how is the EU adjusting its trade strategies amid these tensions? Amid rising tensions with China, the EU has sought to reduce dependence on Chinese trade by strengthening ties with countries like Canada, New Zealand, and the UAE. Despite this, China remains the EU's largest trading partner, and the EU is cautious about fully decoupling. How does the transatlantic alliance influence the EU's approach to China? The EU faces pressure from the US to take a stronger stance on China, especially regarding tariffs and security. While the EU maintains important trade relations with China, it must balance these economic interests with its geopolitical alliance with the US, especially given concerns over China's support for Russia. Looking ahead, what does the future hold for EU-China relations? The future of EU-China relations and the potential for CAI revival will depend on how both sides balance economic opportunities and ethical commitments. While the economic benefits are clear, human rights concerns remain a significant challenge in restarting negotiations. Will this diplomatic thaw open the door for a renewed EU-China partnership, or will human rights concerns continue to stand in the way? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates. See you in the next one.